Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome. I'm Beata Padua, and I am your favorite agile coach, right? I'm on a mission to change the world one team at a time. Joining me today is Dr. R.B. Hernandez. He is a CEO and the president of Influence. He is a Jungian oriented licensed psychologist with a focus on developing ego self axis related leadership. With over 15 years experience, he is an international keynote speaker, Galician, Cuban, American soul, carried with a farmer's heart. I'm so excited, as you might tell. This topic is really close to my heart. Robert, welcome.
Thank you so much, Beat. I'm so excited as well.
Today, we are going to talk about EQ, leading with EQ, and all the things around that, right? And how they all
Yes.
interconnect, how they all can be attained. So, before we jump in to the main topic, I'd like to do something I do in all meetings. So, I hope you're up for it, Robert. I
Yes.
would like to start with a check-in. So let's do it. A little check-in
Okay.
to get us
Sure.
all, both of us present. All right. So if you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why?
Dubai.
Dubai.
And
Whoa.
yes. And the why would be I've never been there. And it's going to be funny because I was watching on Netflix a series. I hardly watch television, but when I decide to have a movie night usually is binging at least 3 to 4 episodes. And I saw this episode, which I don't even remember the title exactly, but it's set in Dubai. And I was just taken back by of course, the luxury that's there and the characters on this show. It's a series. They're all living this glamorous life and living in these mansions on these man made islands with
Wow.
a beach in the front yard and a beach in the back. And so that's a place I would love to go.
Oh wow. That's amazing. That's like Miami vibes a bit, right?
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Palm trees, yeah.
And how
I
about
think
you?
How about me? I think I would go to London. I used to live there for almost 10 years and
Okay.
I haven't been there for a long time. So it feels like my third home is missing me. I hope it is. And also because it's so fun to see it. It's so fun to see it. And it's so green and so much nature. So yeah, I feel a bit like third homesick. You can say that.
Oh,
Yeah. Third homesick. Yeah. I'm missing
that's,
the fish and chips, you know?
oh, of course, those fish and chips.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thank you for this. So, today's topic is leading with emotional intelligence. I'd like to start by asking you, what is EQ, emotional intelligence, and what is it not? Just give us an introduction to EQ, if you don't mind.
Sure. First of all, a lot of people think of emotional intelligence that it's all about emotions, and in a way it is, but it's not the way people think of emotions. So, the way that I would describe EQ would be to look at emotions as if emotions were data. So
Mm,
emotions is information that comes to you, and it's up to us to understand what that information means. And because I am a Jungian trained psychologist, I believe emotions come up from the unconscious, almost like bubbles coming up from the depths of the ocean. And these bubbles have information, they have pockets of information that are helpful to us. And so I believe it's something that's very important to have. And a lot of the times we don't see it as information. we just see them as bubbles and we get caught up in the bubbles, but not in the information that's inside of
Wow. Wow. That's a really interesting definition. Nothing I've ever heard or read before.
them.
Or bubbles. I love
Good.
it. Okay, all right. So if this is all about the bubbles, how does a leader, and we talking in the, every one of us has a different definition of what leader is and who is a leader. A
Yeah.
leader as an individual leader or a manager that considers themselves leader, right? Um, how does a
Hmm.
one leader develop such a quality or skill? What should I call it?
I think you could definitely call it a skill. And the first thing I would say is awareness. And so a leader, and like you said, it could take many different shapes and forms, would be awareness. Awareness would be the first thing, because in order to even understand there's something coming up, we have to be aware that something is coming up. So when you are aware of something, it differentiates you or it separates you. So, in other words, you don't get caught up in it. So, if there's an emotion that's coming up and you're not aware, what ends up happening is you identify with that emotion and you get caught in the emotion. For example, a lot of the times people will say something like, I am sad or I am angry. And that's kind of a misnomer. It's really not correct. Basically what you're saying is that you are that. And obviously, one is much more than just sadness or happiness or anxiety or whatever the emotion is. One is a lot more than that. So it's a lot more correct to say I feel sad or I feel happy. And once you say the word feel, it separates you. There's you, and then there's the feeling that you are sensing, if that makes sense. So the first thing I would say is to create an awareness. And the awareness basically tells you that you are not that. You are much more than that.
Mm, mm, interesting. Is that the same with positive and negative emotions, or does it make any difference?
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Emotions are emotions. So, for
Okay.
example, you go out to a really nice restaurant, you feel happy that you're there and you
Mm,
like the ambiance and you get caught up in the music and the smell of the aroma of the food. And so all of that plays into this emotion that arises. The same way that if you're having not so good day or you're in a board meeting and everyone's disagreeing over the direction that we need to take for this year's quarter, then you can get caught up in that as well, because we're all human and we're all interconnected. So no matter what is going on, something will come up, and it's really up to us to be aware and to feel it and sense it.
sense it. How does one sense it? Like, how do you just sense your emotions? Like, let's imagine, like, I am coming into a meeting, and something terrible happened to me before. I don't know. I was on the way to the meeting, and this lady bumped into me on a train, and I'm so angry. Why did she do that? And then I walk into this meeting. It's 9 in the morning, my first meeting, and I just go rah, raging on people. Like, how do I become aware of it?
It's important to become aware when it happens. So you're in the train, a lady bumps into you, and what I heard you say is, I don't know why she did that or why she bumped into me. So it's the understanding why that happened, because it's a negative thing that happened. Why did that
Mm,
happen? Maybe if you understood why, that would help you feel better. But because we'll never know, because this is some random person and we'll never know, that makes it more infuriating. because we're not going to have the meaning behind it, and we'll never get that answered. So we feel even worse with that. So it's really having this ability to be aware of all of that that's happening, to be aware of the emotion, to be aware of the thoughts that come in. And we might even create a story around this woman. Maybe we saw her and what she was wearing, her appearance, then we came up with a story for that because we want to make sense of it. We want to make a meaning of it. And your question, how do you sense something? It's really through the body. And there's one thing is to feel the emotion, the other thing is to sense physically what's happening. So usually when we get angry, our face gets hot, our stomach gets stiff, or sometimes it hurts. Sometimes we have tension in our shoulders. That's all the body, and you're sensing all of that. You're also sensing what you heard, what you saw in this lady, let's say, and all of that's part of the senses. And then the emotions as they come up. So we're really observing. So the key is to build emotional intelligence is to start with an awareness, which requires observing.
Interesting. I do think that a lot of things affect us before we even join meetings and, even one-on-ones or any sort of small interactions with our teams or however you want to look at it. So let's go back to that leader and let's imagine her right now in a situation where there is a lot of negative emotion going around her. She has to uh, potentially go through a list of people and see who is going to be made laid off, right? Or redundant, or
Okay.
different countries, different words. And she's going through this, as we know, many companies right now are doing it. So she has been, let's say it's a middle manager, and she's told by the top management, this is what we're doing right now. Um, and
Mhm.
and I'm imagining she is quite upset, maybe frustrated, right? She's feeling all sorts of emotions. She's definitely not wanting to do this, doesn't want to have these conversations. What would you like? What would you advise her?
And this happens a lot. One of the things that I would sit with her and have her just talk through it, talk through what she is observing. So, for example, she's observing that she's resisting this idea of having a conversation with those that she has to make redundant or lay off. She's probably feeling nervous or anxious in doing that. She might be angry with top management because that's not the direction that she thinks the company should go in. So there's a lot of different things. One of the things that's really helpful with our clients, we like to use either a mind mapping tool or we like to use a whiteboard. And what we like to do is just put everything out there. In other words, we call it a projection. You're projecting what's inside out into a whiteboard, or if you don't have a whiteboard, a piece of paper, and just basically draw everything that's there. So you would draw, let's say we put a circle for I'm angry that I have to do this. We put another circle, I wish I didn't have to do this, so that resisting doing it. Maybe another one is feeling sad for the person that is going to listen to this, thinking that they're going to be sad, and just all these many different parts. And as this person is putting all that on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, they are already starting to create an awareness, and they're already starting to observe all these different pieces. And what I tend to find, and it's even in research, the body starts to relax because the body is no longer holding on to all of this. It's now the whiteboard holding on to it, or a piece of paper, because you've gotten it all out there. then you could start to look at that and ask yourself questions about it, maybe write it out. Then some thoughts start to flow, and you can find creative ways of how to communicate a message, a difficult message that is expected for you to communicate. And see, and that's always more challenging. The easier way is not doing it, or saying, okay, I'm going to quit because I rather quit than have to tell someone. So there's many things you can do, but the more challenging way, and the way that's really going to help you evolve, it's going to be going through it. So this is a great exercise. And because of all the recent layoffs in the tech sector, this is something that we've had to deal with our own clients.
Just so yeah, right on point. It's very similar to in the agile world. We often say visualization is the key to everything, right? And the mind mapping, the spitting everything on the whiteboard. I love that. I never thought of it. Like I never reflected on it. Why is that actually good for me? I never thought about it because I'm a
Yeah.
creative type. So for me, drawing and doing all these things comes naturally. So I never thought of it like this way. That it's actually somewhere intertwined in between my nervous system, right?
Yeah, you're getting it out there, and that's always very helpful to get it out there.
Mm, not on the friend, just on the whiteboard. Okay, thank you.
Oh,
What
and
about that?
any way you can get it out there.
Okay, like screaming on top of the mountain. I don't want to do this. That's what I would do, you know. But what about that
Oh, okay.
that employee, for example? So they receiving that news. We work with this. If you're okay with this example of layoffs, we can continue with that. Um, and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
receive that message, and they don't agree with it. They're like, "Why me? Why not this and that person? You know, they definitely deserve it more than me. I've been here longer. You know, um, what would you advise them? Like how to approach it with the EQ, this type of message?
Well, EQ involves different areas. So I know we've been focusing more on the self awareness part, but there's also emotional self expression. And emotional self expression would be to constructively communicate something that's affecting us based on what we know of the emotions that are coming up. So, what you're going to be doing is you're going to express constructively. And I say constructively because a lot of the times people think emotional expression is just being emotional. And it's not about being emotional. It's about understanding the emotion, understanding the information that's coming up. And then how do I communicate that in a way that's going to help me, that's not going to hurt me? So let's take that example. They're in a meeting and their direct supervisor said, the company's going in a different direction. And at this time, we're cutting 10%. Unfortunately, you fall in the 10% and blah, blah, blah. This person, if they're already aware of the emotions coming up, they're aware of that, they're observing it, but they're not allowing that to take over. They're just kind of observing it. And they have some questions about why me. That's a great time to express that. It's perfectly acceptable and even emotionally intelligently mature. That's kind of long to say, you know, I understand the company's going in a different direction. And unfortunately, I'll probably have to accept that I'm part of the 10%, but I don't understand why. Could you help me see, or could you clarify why I was chosen? So that would be a way to emotionally express oneself appropriately. So there, you're acknowledging the emotion, but you're not letting it control you. So that could be a way of doing that. Do you want some more
That's true.
examples?
Yeah, hit me if you have one. Yeah.
Sure, because another way of dealing with it is how you handle the news. Are you
Mm,
optimistic? Are you flexible? Those are all part of emotional intelligence. So if you leave that office thinking to yourself, that's it, my life is over. I don't know what I'm going to do. What am I going to tell my spouse? Or what am I going to tell my children? Or whatever it is, then that's a part where you need to maybe think about, okay, is there something good out of this? Or what are the possibilities now that my days are freer? I don't have to come to work. Could I use my skills in a different way? So there's a lot of opportunities and possibilities. And especially if you are flexible and optimistic, then that's the way to go. And that's part of emotional intelligence as well.
fascinating. Uh, all of the things that you're mentioning. It's like I'm really reliving. I'm reliving
Ooh,
some layoffs I've been through, and I just feel like, what did I do?
yeah.
Did I go on a rage? But I remember one instance where when this happened to me in one most amazing companies that I worked for, and I accepted it. I left the room. They were super sweet. They say go back, say bye to everyone, la la la. And then I said it to my next desk colleague, and the first thing he said it was, "Okay, let's just go to the pub and just yeah, let's just go and talk," And it was the most beautiful thing someone could do for me at this time, which I think also,
Wow.
how does the environment affect our emotional intelligence, or does it? Because in this case, for me, it helped,
Oh, of
right? But what
course.
do you think?
Yeah. Oh, of course. The environment, nothing is in isolation. That's the first thing. So, whether it's the internal emotions, whether it's how someone speaks to you externally, or whether it's something that has nothing to do with people, just something happens, the weather, everything affects us and or can affect us. I think that's the key there. And so it's really about understanding all these things that are occurring as information and then deciding what the next steps are. And of course, I'm talking very elevated here. Not most of us are not even close to being there, but yet my job and my role is to always preach the ideal, sort of say. So the ideal would be to really kind of take everything that's happening and really just understand it as information and not identify. I know that there are, for example, Eastern philosophies and religious beliefs that talk about detachment. And detachment is a way to do exactly that. You are with yourself and you're observing all the things that happen. Now, what usually happens is everything that happens so fast that it seems like it's lightning speed. But if we are centered and we're sitting in the present moment, it slows down and we're able then to observe whether it's the next partner in your desk telling you let's go to the pub and kind of debrief this, or whether, they didn't say that and you left alone. And so all of those things are opportunities that we have to kind of observe them and then decide what we're going to do. We have the freedom and the power to act and not react to our environment.
I love that. We have the power to act and not react. I'm going to quote you on this one. This does feel like such a deep,
Sure.
deep topic. I mean, I could talk to you about it for hours. If we could, if we want to perhaps throw some steps in there, like for any leader listening, how does one start? Like, what would be the first 3 to 5, I don't know, maybe 3 steps that I should take as a leader to get to attain that skill? Um, Awareness you mentioned.
Sure.
How would you describe it?
Mhm.
We all like recipes. Give me the 3 steps. How do I get there?
Sure. The first thing is to be still. Be still and really make sure that you're connected to yourself. And the way to get connected to yourself is through the body. The body is wonderful for that because the body, that's all the body knows. The body just knows how to be the body. And the mind is different. The mind tends to wander and think it's somewhere else or something else. So get centered. You could do that different ways. You can connect to your heartbeat. You could do make sure that you're connected to your breath and breathing. And once you're connected to yourself and you notice that you're calming down, usually you're shifting back into alpha waves. And I mean, if you start to meditate, you could go into theta and delta. But if you can get to an alpha wave, you're calm. You feel okay. You're at peace. It's not like you're super excited or happy. You're just at peace. You're calm. Then you could begin to see what is happening, whether that's a layoff situation that you're confronted in doing, and you can feel the resistance, you can feel all these different emotions related to that. All of those have to be acknowledged. And then you decide, what are my next steps? Am I ready right now? Do I feel calm and at peace? And do I feel well put together to call the first person I have to call into my office and tell them the news? If the answer is no, you could wait. Give yourself some time. Maybe that means I have to get another cup of coffee. Maybe I have to go outside and walk around and get fresh air, get reconnected with nature. Whatever you have to do, you have to get back into your body and then just decide, what are the next steps going to be? And then make those steps that you have to take to make it happen. And then once you make it happen, then you review. Did I do well? What could I improve next time? Maybe I shouldn't have had the cup of coffee. Maybe I should have had a glass of water. So, whatever it is, you go back and you look at that. It's interesting. You mentioned agile. And I just want to say that we are on this planet to continuously improve. We are continuously improving, and that's why we're here. So I would start with that reconnection, awareness, and then deciding what are the next steps, and then look back and see how we did.
Mm, beautiful. That's great. Now I know what to do. Luckily, I'm not faced with those decisions, but yeah, I feel for everyone
Yeah.
who has to make them. Um, great. So, like I said, this could all be this is a very deep topic. I'm sure
Yeah.
there is hundreds of books written about it. But if we were
Yeah.
to wrap up, what would you? Yeah, how do we start? How do we start? How do we? I know that you have an amazing course around that topic. Could you tell us a little bit
Yeah.
more about it?
Sure. It's called Leading with EQ, and we're actually offering the first module complimentary. And so the course is going to walk you through the different aspects of emotional intelligence. And we're using a specific frame, which is based on an assessment that's widely used called the EQI2. So the course is really framed around that assessment. The course also includes the assessment and the leadership report. And so we use it to really go into the specific skills and behavioral skill sets that really help you build on each of the areas of emotional intelligence. So, one thing is to understand this conceptually and theoretically, but okay, that's nice. But what's more important is, how do we bring it down to earth? How do we actually use it to improve our lives so that we can benefit from having more emotional intelligence?
Fantastic. So this is like an online training, right? I can just jump in and do it in my own.
Yeah, it's an online and on demand. It's on my LinkedIn profile. There's actually a link there. People can click in, and you will be led to register for the free module. And then, if you enjoy the free module and it was very helpful, you're certainly welcome to continue the course.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. I think I will share it afterwards for sure. You mentioned that there is other skills
Thank
that
you.
the leader also kind of evolves from this. So last question I want to ask you is, what are those other skills that you believe leaders, especially in technology, if I
Oof.
can narrow it down, could benefit from attaining? Obtaining, what's the word? Yeah,
Yeah, attaining. Yeah.
attaining.
Well,
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, in technology, there's always you have to do a lot of analytical thinking and critical thinking. Requires listening, good listening skills, and something that we teach at Influence. Just paraphrasing, something as simple as paraphrasing that allows the leader to go deeper in the conversation. That's something else that could be also especially with layoffs and what we're facing nowadays, it would be an essential skill to have.
Mm, great. I'm definitely going to look it up, especially the last one. It's all extremely exciting, and I have been obsessing around the EQ topic for some years now and trying to explore it. And I'm extremely grateful that you found this time to share it with all of us here. I'd like to
Sure.
thank you so much for joining, and I hope that
You're welcome.
I can join your training soon. I'm super excited about it.
Great.
So yeah, thank you so much, Robert. And I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you, Bata. This was a great conversation. And, I'm a nerd and I'm just passionate about EQ as well. Thank you for having me.
I love having a fellow nerd to talk to. Okay, see you later.
Exactly.
Take care.